sleeping for the night in the basement.
And did Tornado Alley move?
Well, I do feel like it did. I think it moved further south. Because now when I hear about tornadoes, they're more like, Oklahoma.
Missouri.
Southeastern United States.
Mm-hmm.
But it always used to be right across Kansas and Nebraska were the big tornado states. It seems to have shifted. It's rare. I haven't heard of Nebraska getting a tornado in a long time. Other than that, this is the most exciting event of the day.
There you go.
End of the week. So. I did think about Lisa's dad. You know, they're going to get tons of rain, I think, where he is. In the Orlando, north of Orlando or something. I kind of remember that area.
Talk to your daughter?
Let's see.
About?
Yeah, I Sunday I told her, I talked with Mary, and she was excited to have us, and I talked with Jay, and he said yes, he really wants to go.
Oh, good.
And she said she'd look at tickets this week, and let me know if she finds what they're looking for. I'm guessing John leaves for Ecuador Friday, so they might be kind of busy getting John off.
Is he gonna walk?
No, he's gonna fly.
Oh my God! He's gonna fly.
He's gonna fly down to do some volcano work. And then he's gonna come up and meet Kara in Sequim, Washington at Mike's house. Off they go.
Let's swim.
Swim.
We're gonna swim. Unlock the range of Greetings and salutations, light beings who have decided to accompany us, who dwell on the planet of Earth. We won't be here long. We're ascending into the light right now. Hasta la vista. The magic of the star tetrahedron, the Christ frequency, the Christ field. It is called the Christ field because it's the mystical marriage of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, and as it's unified within the body, it creates then a tube of light up the spine, which we call the rod of initiation. But around us, it then creates the form of light and consciousness that is called the star tetrahedron, the Christ star. As it spins, it opens a sacred doorway within the very middle of the star tetrahedron, which is within the heart chakra, called the jewel in the lotus in the terminology of India. And as it opens, then spirit or source arises forth. And then there are three aspects then to creation. One, the masculine of focused attention, light, in unity with the divine feminine of imagination and feeling. It creates then a holographic light form, and then arising forth from out of the heart is spirit, which gives life. And so this is the Trinity, the three that create reality. Our work, of course, it's about mastering the star tetrahedron, the balancing of the divine masculine, the divine feminine. There's only one thing that keeps us from that fulfillment, and that's really emotion. Emotion, as we've talked about, is seeded into the body from the time frame of conception to about 7 years of age. It is a gathering forth of all of our karma from many incarnations, both that which is the grace, the love, the goodness that we have demonstrated in the past, as well as those things that we are working on in order to fully understand the feminine of emotion, feeling, the masculine of mind and power. I was doing a session today for lady back east, highly illuminated, and in her illumination, quite a clientele, works with an awful lot of people, and so very dynamic and active within the healing arts. The important thing, though, is that all of the work that had been accomplished was through mostly the mind looking for information, looking for wisdom, for source, for spirit, and with the preciseness of the mind, being able to really examine what happened within her life, who she was, what transpired, and put it all into context and forgive it. But in fact, it wasn't forgiven. It was simply understood. And then the person and the personality said, I forgive them. But within the unconscious, which is that 0 to 7 time frame, it was still stuck within the body, within the cells and tissues, emotion, because the child, the part that literally was experiencing those energy waves, the loneliness, the fear, the separation, even the anger of not being unconditionally loved, the child was still carrying that energy around. And so it was still locked in the past, still, if you will, being, if you will, bombarded with those feelings, which were then vibrating through time, space, so to speak, and then creating things in this world that were causing fear or worry, frustration, not really feeling the fullness of living enlightenment. And so we worked on the emotional body. The way that we did that was to not use the mind as a instrument that thinks or examines, that again takes us to a place of knowing who I am. But we're now moving to the place of being that which is the divine, the soul embodied. And so it takes then a meditation and really a disciplined meditation to then begin to train the mind to be silent. And in its silent and focus, it becomes the truest state of masculine, which is simply focused light and attention. And it can then focus that light and attention upon the imagination and the feeling of what is the divine and sacred part of each one of us. It's the soul, and it is perfect. It lives within a frequency of what we might call the fifth dimensional wave of light. And in its perfection, it is seeking to enter into form, but the mind cannot bring it into form. One must be able to focus the mind of silence, imagine and feel what is the frequency of the soul, which is golden light. I sent out a short YouTube video from a gentleman, quite an amazing gentleman, who talked about how in the beginning of creation, the one source, pure light, split itself into two aspects, positive and negative. We call it yin yang, we call it masculine and feminine. And so then the goal was to bring those two back together, but within form. And the only way that that could be done was by golden light. It had all of the codes of information of the one and divine source that created reality, but it was now also then able to embrace, which is materiality, Mother Earth, physical form, and love it in equalness with that which is the divine. And it then created the masculine, the feminine to be unified, which created golden light. And that is the frequency of the soul. And when we then meditate and focus the mind upon the feeling of golden liquid light flowing down in and through the body, we have to be grounded. And this is one of the things I've been finding with so many of my clients of late. They have a very high level of light within them, but mostly ungrounded. They ground through their legs and their feet. And so they can be very dynamic, very purposeful, filled with integrity, for sure. But only when the base of the spine is open can the soul flow as golden liquid light down in and through the body, and then literally flow into earth, because we come from earth. The body is, of course, a physical structure. And when we are grounded and unified with Mother as earth, the physical body feels safe. When it feels safe, it relaxes, it opens. It allows then the golden light of the soul to flow as a living waterfall down in and through the body. It can then flow into all the cells, the tissues. You can access every part of the body because it is now both spirit and form unified in a frequency of perfection, the soul. And as it flows in and through, it can then ferret out where is the emotion quietly hidden away within the cells, the tissues. And every time we find and feel an emotion, as we've talked about, it's always a signpost. That signpost is pointing back to something that happened between conception and 7 years of age, when the feeling child was here simply as an open sponge. Whatever was going on within the family unit, the culture, the racial archetype, the DNA structure of the heritage, all that is then seeded into the feeling tone of the child. It now experiences both the joy and the creativity of a child, but as well the feelings of loneliness, the subtleties of fear and worry, which can even rise into frustration and anger that I'm not loved. And so this particular individual, as we then brought the golden light down in and through, we then found an area where the pelvic region, which is one of the usual regions where we hold emotion, sadness, grief. And as we settled into that area, I was taking the client through a process of feeling the emotion. Well, first off, as there was a settling into this area, once again, it was the mind that was trying to be active. It feels tight. It feels like a box. It feels like there's something that's impenetrable. And so I kept bringing her back to what's the feeling? If you were a child and you're in a box, you were locked up, how would you feel? And so finally, she came to the feeling of the emotion because that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for what is the idea of it, what does the mind think about it, what does the mind understand about it. We need to access the emotion so we can feel what the child felt back then. And of course, it was sadness, but then also frustration bordering upon anger. If you're locked in a box long enough, you're going to feel sad and probably somewhat worthless. And it's not a box as far as, just a steel cage, mind you. It's just a box of mom's individual level of her loneliness that sometimes seeps out. Father's inability to love unconditionally. Not 24/7, mind you, but just every now and again creating a box of their limited constructs around this child. But it becomes to be persistent sometimes, you see, in our family unit. And so there was the frustration and bordering upon the anger. Once we accessed the emotion, then that was the doorway. The soul could then slip through the feeling because the soul is a feeling entity. It's not a thinking entity, it's a feeling entity. The ultimate feeling of the soul, of course, is joy and magic and happiness and love and bliss. And as that is moving in, though, the soul can then taste, well, what's the darkness feel like? It feels like sadness. It feels like frustration and anger. Once we access the emotion, it then softened because we weren't trying to change the emotion. We weren't trying to get rid of it. We were simply feeling, what is the child feeling? And the child then felt honored that someone was there to feel what it had felt back then. Wasn't trying to get rid of it or saying, frustration is not good, anger is, don't be angry. That was the usual scenario back then. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Go to your room. But the soul is standing there as this golden and sacred divine energy that says, yes, I feel you. I hear you. I'm experiencing with you what you are feeling. And in that moment, the child then begins to acknowledge and feel, what is this presence? Well, it's the soul that literally created the child. And because the soul is now there with the child feels validated at its deepest feeling level. It begins to feel, this is the divine mother, this is the divine father that created me. This is my source energy. And you feel it in the body. It's an acknowledgement of grace within the body. And then as we were there with that child, we began to access a movie, so to speak, a scenario. And the scenario was that mother was feeling depressed and lonely, and dad was feeling once again angry and frustrated. And so I asked her, I said, you ask the child, what does it need to do to move this energy out of its space? She said, well, the child would like to hold its hands really tight to its chest and then come to a place of dynamic, radiant light and just kind of move everything out of its space. And I said, great, give the child the right, the energy to do that. And so the child changed its reality. The soul didn't do it. The personality didn't do it. The child was empowered to simply take light and then move everything and everyone out of its space. didn't hurt anyone, it didn't harm anyone. It was simply taking inappropriate energy, feelings, and saying, no, that's not mine, out of my space. And in that moment, you could see a cloud of energy coming out of the aura. And it was now being filled with golden sunlight and peace, which was then creating new cells and new tissues, a new body, a body that would allow the golden light of the soul to live in form, standing beside the child of magic. Because the child of magic is nothing more than a piece of the soul. When you're born into this incarnational experience, the soul takes a piece of itself, that beautiful faceted star tetrahedron. It takes one of those facets, that pure jewel of living light, drops it down into time and space. Mother and father, culture, racial archetype covered over with vibrations, but inside the jewel is still perfect. You're still perfect. The soul is still perfect. It's just coverings. Those coverings cause fear, they cause worry, they cause frustration, anger, they'll even cause hatred. If I come into your space and keep putting you down and hurting you and pushing you under, I hope you would finally hate that. And then you would come up from victimhood into no longer hating, but coming to the fire of passion. And with your passion, tell me out of my space. And so this is again what we did with the child. We gave it the right to move inappropriate energy. We're not naming anyone bad. We're not disliking anything. We're not even really trying to change anything. We're simply saying, this is my space, and I claim it with the liquid golden light, the purity that I am. I am the light. And as then the child awakens, it then creates another level of connection with the soul, a level of trust, a level of trust with spirit. Spirit is now with me. I can trust spirit to hear me, to understand me, which allows then more information, more wisdom, more intuition to arise forth within. And so it's really emotions, as I said in the opening statement that I sent out today. It's really emotions that are the key to enlightenment. If we love ourselves 100%, the light of the soul is living in the body. That's the finality of it. If there's a subtle part of yourself that you're disliking or judging, you're giving yourself a hard time, you're criticizing yourself, that's a program. Someone taught you how to do that. That should make you angry, should make you frustrated. Stop it and allow the child to come up to a place of empowerment, of light, because it's the soul within that you're empowering. It's the soul within that you're giving light to. I told you the story of, in the Bhagavad Gita, that there's the story of Arjuna, who is simply a man. He's a kshatri, which means he's part of the warrior class. And Krishna, which is the soul, his soul, Krishna comes to him and says, Arjuna, we have to take action and we have to slay the kshatris that are then out there who are the bad ones. They've overrun society. They're taking other people's lives. There's simply the ignorance that is now growing. And Arjuna said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to slay my relatives. And Arjuna was then reluctant. But Krishna said, you are simply driving the chariot, the body. I am the soul that is standing in and through, and I will be the divine archer. I will be the one that takes action. Because the soul knows that nothing is hurt, nothing is harmed, nothing is destroyed. It's simply energy. And so Krishna, standing behind Arjuna, went forth in the Bhagavad Gita. And together they then took care of the ignorance. They slayed that which was the ignorance of society, that which was causing great destruction. And then a new level of life and light arose in India. It's a beautiful story, the Bhagavad Gita. But once again, the soul knows that nothing is hurt, nothing is harmed. And that's your soul simply coming into the body to help you come up to a place of power and use the light of empowerment to get angry, but to say no, not emote the anger, not get angry at people, but simply come up to a place of the passion, the red of passion, and take action and go back to that time when it happened from 0 to 7. Give the child the right to move it out of its space. It will create more light, more love within the body. You will love yourself. The star tetrahedron will automatically begin to be formed of consciousness and light around you, the Christ matrix. And now, with a great love within you, you can be trusted with all the powers of heaven and earth to create, because you will use it in a way that is righteous, that is upholding and uplifting of all life, never hurting, never harming, but simply uplifting. And this is the new paradigm that we're moving into, which is why it's so important for us to clear the emotional body at this time, because it's the emotion within us that's vibrating out into the world and creating the problems with the environment, with the social structure. It's just mass emotion. And yes, most of us who come together in meditation in this, evening program, or who we know, we're not emitting really great quantities of emotion. It's the people who are really in the barrios, the ghettos, and places of really being in great difficulty, the gangs. God bless them. It's not wrong. It's not in error. It's simply they're creating chaos so that people can feel the chaos, go, what do I want to do? Do I want to dislike it and judge it and criticize it? Or do I want to transform and no longer be overshadowed by any chaos that happens? It can't come into my life. It can't come into my reality. It cannot meet my vibration. And so everything is having a purpose today, but the emotion is only growing bigger and bigger. And so to clear it, as we then move into this new level of enlightenment, becomes vital and important. One of the things, of course, that we do to assist us, and this is one of the things that I did with my client today, I took her into, first off, the breath work. Why the breath work? Because it opens the doorway. From out of the open doorway within the heart, spirit arises forth, sacredness. As we're breathing in, deep belly breathing, the body is relaxing. You're feeding it both oxygen and spirit. The cells and the tissues relax and they open up, which allows then the openness of light to flow within. So the deep breathing experience that we do is to sit quietly, and with deep belly breathing, it's like we're filling a glass, and we breathe in with the belly going out, and we're filling the bottom of the glass, so to speak. And as it's filled with light and air, we then fill the upper part of the glass, the upper lungs. At the same time, from the open doorway, we're drawing in spirit, the spirit that we use in our creative life. And then as we hold for a couple of counts and then gently exhale, we're watching sparkling, effervescent golden light flowing out from us. The sparkling effervescence is going through your cells and tissues, opening you up for more golden light radiance. So let's do about 5 minutes of deep breathing. As you all well know, I like to breathe with eyes open as I practice it throughout the day, driving, gardening, whatever I'm doing. Always enlivening the flow of spirit from within. It's part of my daily practice to always enliven spirit within. So let's go ahead and do 5 minutes of deep, deep breathing. We're breathing in oxygen and breathing in spirit from the open doorway. The spine is erect. and deep belly breathing. And another deep breath or two. And slowly coming back into the now. Whenever an emotion does arise during the day, rather than get attached to it or overshadowed by it, we can take a few moments and just do some breath work And we'll find that the emotion is calming down, and then we can address it in a way of simply going in and feeling it, bringing the light of the soul in, going through it, and then empowering the child to come into light activation. When we do our star tetrahedron meditation, we bring our attention between the eyebrows. The reason being there's two outposts of light within the body. So the soul, when you're incarnating, has an outpost of light within the pineal gland, the third eye, as well as one within the heart. And so when they're beginning to be unified, it creates then heart mind. And so this is what we're doing. We're focusing light within the pineal, the light of the soul. We're then bringing it down to the heart chakra at the sternum. And then we begin to imagine and feel the star tetrahedron. The importance is not so much the star tetrahedron itself, it is turning. And as you become more unified within your self-love and loving the child within, it automatically begins to form. It's the Christ matrix. But more importantly, it is then the open door within the heart that allows spirit to arise forth. So I encourage you to be more focused upon feeling spirit arising forth, knowing that the star tetrahedron is moving, and you are then creating liquid, living stardust light all around you. So let's go ahead and bring our attention between the eyebrows as we feel the body relaxing. Our breath work has allowed the body to become relaxed and peaceful. Body is open to receive. We are grounded from the base of the spine with Mother Earth. Feeling grounded and safe with Mother Earth. We then bring our attention between the eyebrows, imagining we could draw a line straight back to the center point of the head. And there we ignite the light of the soul. I am the light. True statement, I am the light. We focus the light to the heart chakra at the sternum, to the open doorway. We imagine, we feel the star tetrahedron, whatever size you choose. A form of consciousness and light turning. And as it turns, it opens the sacred doorway within the heart, where spirit is arising forth, a living spring. It touches the facets of the star tetrahedron, and like a prism, spins out electrified living light, sparkling and effervescent to every cell and tissue, flowing as living light out into the world. Bringing healing and renewal to all of life. I am the light. Let's sit quietly together, and I will join with you as we all gather together in a living circle of light. Welcome home. So as we practice our, of course, meditation and our breath work and our emotional clearing, we become the living temple of light, the vessel of the soul. So anything I can do to assist you in that, please let me know. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. We've now moved in past the, the fall equinox was on the 22nd last week. And now we're into fall weather. It'll be pumpkin time soon. Then after it's pumpkin time, then it's Thanksgiving time, and then it's Santa Claus time. One of my favorite people shows up. I have 2 chimneys, so I get a double dose. All right, my friends, wonderful to be with all of you. Like I said, if I can serve in any way, please let me know. And blessings upon all of you. Namaste.